Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Hello there and welcome to this episode of Your Ultimate Life, the podcast that I created we're in our 7th year to help you learn and implement what's necessary to live the ultimate life, the life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that you can create with your gifts, your life experience, and your glorious being. So today I have a special guest, Esther Wildenberg, if you speak it in Dutch. But anyway, she's living in California. Esther, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Colin. I'm really happy to be here.
You're just welcome. We had a delightful conversation some weeks ago, and I knew that you'd be a perfect addition to the show and to the listeners. And I don't do introductions per se, because that's just usually a bunch of stuff people forget anyway. But I do like to give you that. Well, it means something when it comes out during the conversation, right? People remember it more. So I'm going to ask you a question that I want to give you then free rein to answer, and I don't want you to be particularly modest. So here's the question. I'd like you to tell me how Esther chooses on purpose to add good to the world.
That's a deep question, and I'd love to answer that. I was not really aware of that until I had my accident with 2 motorcycles, me on my bicycle in the Netherlands, and really wiped out where everything changed for me. And I had 2 near-death experiences before that. I was just focused on school and more like surviving and going to the university, became a dentist, and hated it every second along the way. And then I had my wake-up call, and this beautiful near-death experience put me on the path on bigger impact, living my life on my terms, really connect with who I am, what do I want, not live the life of my parents or pressure from peers or what will be best for me, and just listen to my soul, my heart, what do I want to do? And from that moment forward, after my long-term recovery of 3 years and healing journey, I went on my path of personal development, spiritual growth, and really tapping into what do I want. And then I realized I want to give back to the world. I want to do something meaningful and impactful that's just beyond myself and having a job and a paycheck. So that was my awakening at 23 years old.
And so you grew up normal stuff in the Netherlands. You went to school, going to be a dentist. In the process, when you were 22 or when you were 19, you had the accident?
23. I was 23.
So when you were 23, first 23 years, you lived what would have been the normal life in the machine.
Right.
And in 23, you had an accident, which was severe, serious, and caused you to have a 3-year recovery. And you had a near-death experience, and that's particularly interesting to me because I've had written a couple of books about that, and I'm going in August to the International Association of Near-Death Studies, IAN's annual conference in Seattle, to speak at that event. So when you say near-death, that interests me, and I know it's a fascinating topic for others. So besides dying or almost dying and recovering, talk a little bit about what happened and how you made a choice to get out of the machine and start pursuing something you called your soul's purpose, or, that kind of stuff. What happened?
No, I knew I was not happy. I was depressed and not happy. I didn't like my job. I didn't like my life. And I was basically stuck. So it was a wake-up call. And people said, like, I'm so sad it happened to you. And I said, no, it was the best thing that ever could happen to me, because I was like living a miserable life. Not at the blame of anybody else, but it's just when I didn't live the life that made me happy. And so when I went through the near-death experience, I got a very clear message that I was here to empower women to really step into their power at a young age and start living their life and their dream, and not based on culture or tradition to do the regular route of go to school, study, have a job, get married, have children, and then by the time you're an empty nester, you can think about yourself. And I became really passionate about that message, but I also knew at 23 years old, who am I to talk about this topic? So I went on this massive journey on personal development, books, courses, seminars, hired coaches, mentors, had different kind of jobs in different industries, became very successful in corporate. And then I knew like corporate is not for me. I need to be my own boss, be an entrepreneur, start living what I preach. So I started a consulting firm, working with business owners, entrepreneurs to help them grow and scale and turn around companies. And I started doing retreats and masterminds for women to really be out of their routine and feel like, who are you when you're not a mom or when you're out of your job? Like, what is your true passion? And I ask them all the time, like, if you knew your expiration date, what would you be doing instead what you're doing right now? And the answer is always different than what they're doing right now, like literally 99 of 100 times.
That's a really interesting, I know there's more, but I just want to go down that road for a minute. I agree with you. And people say, live every day like it's your last day on earth. Well, I would do something completely different. And maybe it really isn't possible to live every single day like it's your very last day. But your question of if you knew your expiration date, what direction would your life be taking? And I'm not surprised at 99% it's different. How did you get the message? Like, what communicated to you the message that you're supposed to be doing something different?
I didn't even want to come back. So first, that was the first message was like, no, you have to go back. You're here for a really big reason and you have to make an impact. That's why you have to go back. It's not your time. I'm like, okay, I guess I have no choice. And then I was like in this like world surrounded by angels and, beautiful white light and all kind of energies and colors and flying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be here. There's so much love there and so much unconditional love and just joy that I like, oh my gosh, I want to live this world. And I got the message, you can live this on earth when you connect to your soul purpose. And then this Native American tribal leader with this beautiful feather like headpiece showed up with a feather on his hand and it had a little key on it. And he presented it to me and then got the message that what I shared, like that I'm here to empower women to start living their life at a young age. And that's why I had my accident at 23 and not a heart attack at 55, for example, right? I got the message right there. This is your opportunity to step into it. And it didn't sink in because I was in the intensive care. So in that moment in time, I was not really conscious and aware of the whole thing. But when I came out of it and I was in my room by myself and I started journal, I'm like, what was the message? And I meditated and got the download and the download came again and I wrote it down. And I didn't go back to it right away because I was so in my recovery and trying to walk again and get out of the hospital. It took me 5 months to get out of the hospital and just a very long journey of first being healthy again. And so that after 3 years, I grabbed my journal and I started to do the work to be ready for it. My career path, hired coaches. I did Tony Robbins. I actually watched Tony Robbins for 5 months in the hospital every single day. I just ordered the black box with 6 DVDs. I remember it as the day yesterday, and it arrived a week before my accident. And I told my girlfriend, as soon as I could, my roommate could watch television, I said, I don't want to watch television. It had the DVD player built in, like, I'm that old. So,
right.
And I said, bring me that box and I just have to watch that. And I went on a healing journey, a very deep healing journey of my childhood and the abuse I went through. And a lot of things really fell in place. And I watched it for 5 months and people thought I was totally crazy. My family said, why are you watching every single day the same thing?
Because I am totally crazy.
Yes.
I'm totally crazy, and I've been driven crazy by the machine that I've been living in for 23, now 24 years. And so you spend a couple of years healing and had the good sense to order that before your accident, a prescient move. And so you had it. And doing that every day in an immersive way for 5 months must have really lit the awareness and the fire. And that's a very beautiful image of the key. And I really think it's key what you said, empower women at a young age, because you're right. Most of the time something happens when you're 40, 50, 60. I was 52 in 2007 when my divine intervention happened that set me on the path I've been on now for nearly 20 years. So I get that, and it's really exciting that it happened at such a young age for you. You mentioned getting out of the hospital and going on a career path to get into some kind of corporate work. What puts you in that direction?
First, I had a personal trainer to get myself back in my strength, and
Right.
it was a very long journey. Like one day, I started with one step, and then 5 steps, and then 10 steps. And it felt like I ran a marathon. And then I finally about graduated to go on a bicycle, and I did like 5 rounds, and then like I need to sleep. And then I had to build it up for a long time to recover. And then after I was like back onto getting to a normal phase, I hired a personal trainer to really work with me and get back in my shape. And that was at the gym, and they asked me if I was interested in being a general manager, and I said, general manager, not really. So I declined, and then I got approached again by a big franchise, Fitness First, if I wanted to be a general manager of one of their locations, and then open other ones and be part of something bigger. And I said, yeah, I want to do that. So I did it. First, I went into the fitness world. Now I knew that would not be my end destiny, but I learned a lot working with people, and I was really passionate about sports. I was really hardcore in sports. I think that was always my survival and escape out of my family environment, to just play sports and be outdoors, and I was really passionate about that for a while. Then I moved to Power Plate International, the little machine that
Okay.
everybody knows. And then I realized I want to step out of this industry, and I just applied for a corporate job as a business unit director. Now, the funny
Hmm.
part is, the CEO invited me. She says, your resume doesn't make any sense for me to hire you in a corporate financial services environment, but I want to talk to you. So I sat down, and she asked, like, why are you applying for this job? I said, I think I would be really good business unit director, and just, turn this around, because it was not doing well. It was like in the red numbers. And she says, like, I don't know your resume. Tell me why. And I said, because of everything I went through, my recovery, my mindset, how to get out of it against all odds, like surviving it, getting back on my feet, starting my life all over. And I said, I think you're just gonna hire me for my resilience and driven part of want to win in life, and that's why you're gonna hire me. And she looked at me and she says, you're something different. She says, okay, I have nothing to lose. It's, if you can turn it around, great. So I started that Monday.
Wow.
And I arrived in that office, and I literally was just a desk and a chair, nothing on the wall, nothing. It was like this literally depressing corporate room. So I picked up my laptop and my keys for my car and my phone, and she says, good luck. And I had no
Wow.
clue what to do. And I just realized I just have to pick up the phone. And I started dialing and got clients, and I turned it around in 6 months. And she says, you're hired. So for a long term. And then I asked her to mentor me. And she says, you're the first one. I have this company for more than a decade. You're the first one that's asking me if I can mentor you. And I said, yeah, how else do I get better? I need a mentor, and this is your company. There's nobody better that can mentor me than you. And I said, I know you don't have a lot of time, but if I can get like 30 minutes or an hour a week or every other week, I'll take it. So she mentored me. And
That's
yeah.
I want to keep the story going, but there's some really interesting points I want the listeners to pick up on, and that is there's a theme here of drivenness. I didn't like what was going on at home, so I went out and played sports, but you did it well. And I know that because someone wouldn't ask you to be the general manager of a gym if you didn't have that aspect of drivenness. They wouldn't say, we're going to hire you to be the general manager of a gym because we think you're going to fail. No, they would hire you because they think you're going to succeed, because you have that energy that says that. The same thing that said, this lady said, oh yeah, I'll hire you. I mean, what? And so then you went to succeed, and then you took the same initiative. Will you mentor me? That's the same lady that said, I'm going to watch Tony Robbins for 5 months while I'm recovering me. I mean, there's a theme here, and I want to point at it for listening, because creating the ultimate life, which is what the theme is here, doesn't come in an Amazon box. It is created as we make choices. And so I'm just noticing that repeated theme. Keep going. I just wanted to stick that in there.
Yeah, that's powerful. So I stayed business unit director. I started to work with other business units and account managers and field managers. And then she left after I was there for 3 years, and then she sold the company.
Oh, well.
And I'm like, dang it, you know. So I talked to her. She says, I gave you a really good position. Like she set me up to really overlook the whole organization, to work with the new owner, CEO. I couldn't stand that guy. Like I told him, I don't like you. And he says, wow, you're really direct. I said, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend for a paycheck. Like I said, I don't align with your vision of putting everything under one umbrella. You have those little pillars that each are their own animal, like finance, HR, security, government, they have a different group of people that have to go talk to different executives. You cannot just blend that whole party. He says, who has more experience, you or me? I said, you probably in years do, but I don't think that's going to be the right decision. But it's now your company, so it's your choice. I said, if it doesn't work, I'm going to be gone in 90 days because I don't want to be part of a sinking ship. He looked at me, and I was 33 years old. Okay. He was like 60.
Right.
And he didn't know what to do with me, and I just kept doing my thing. And I called Vera, the previous CEO. I said, I'm not gonna stick around here. I said, I cannot stand this guy. Like, I'm sorry, I have to be out here. I said, I want to start my own company. She says, no, I'm gonna hire you in my new company.
Oh, wow.
So I went to her new company only for 1 year. I said, I will do it for 1 year and then I'll start my own business. So I helped her grow her new company, also in the financial world. And then I started my own company.
Cool.
Yeah.
What a story of exciting growth. So when you started and thanks for sharing all that, because the common themes there are really important. And we live in a world today where the people think two things. One, it's download and double click, meaning I can go find the answer, download it and double click and it's done. Or they think that every problem, situation, or difficulty should be able to be solved in the length of a TV sitcom, which, real life isn't like that. And you've consistently demonstrated that. What was the name of your first company?
My personal company?
Yeah, when you started your own.
Company was LinkedIn Management, from LinkedIn Management. So I was the link between the management of different organizations. I had started a consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
I met over the years, being in corporate, so many consultants that were great expertise in what they do in finance or IT, but couldn't sell themselves. So I became the broker of putting them on projects with Fortune 500 or sometimes smaller size companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I made my money. I was really good with people. I had a big network and great connections, and they had the expertise for the projects they were looking for to hire people for 6 months, year, 2 years, depending on the project. And
so you became a headhunter for consultants, essentially placing them in different plots. Cool. So how long did you do that?
I did that I started in 2008, and I met my wife in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to the US in 2014. So till 2014, and then I sold my company and moved to the US.
Cool. So that was 6 years. What a fun thing. And everything before it prepared you for that. How exciting. So you've been in the US since 14. So that's now a dozen years.
Mm-hmm.
And what company, obviously you've started something new when you got to the US. What was that?
When I started my consulting firm, I also started my retreat and mastermind business at the same time. So I hosted retreats for women around the world. I did it 2 to 4 times a year. And so when I moved here, I told my wife, I will help you to grow your training and tech company. And we partnered in the business. I said, but I still love doing my retreats. So I kept doing my retreats over the past decade. I've hosted over 80 retreats. And then I started to pick up my consulting 3 years ago. So I'm consulting as well with a company. I turned them around in 90 days. That's my specialty.
Cool. So when you think about all the things that you have learned to do, and for me at least listening, there's a common theme through this. It is finding, the important parts that are missing or not being done well, changing them, creating both the drive, the insight, the inspiration to help people know what to do. What's the name of your company today?
My wife and I own Codebreaker Technologies, And my own company is called Empower with an AO. So EMPAOWER. And it's under the website under my name because nobody spells it right. So I just kept my name as the link for my website, but there's
How
to keep
cool.
it simple for the average human being.
So that's a great story, and thank you. And I can tell, obviously, those that are watching or listening can hear your energy and your excitement about how you're living. And I love people having, or the people on guests here that present like you do with this energy. The idea is to live a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And I started with the question, how are you adding good to the world? And I've heard a whole half a dozen or dozen different ways that you do that. And I love it. Do you feel like you're living the life you want, purpose, prosperity, and joy?
I think I do. Yeah.
Fabulous. So sometimes people say, well, that's good for you, or you could do that, but I could never do that. That's not available for me. What would you say? Do you think anybody can do that if they want to?
If you want to. Yeah. It's a choice. And I have enough examples of people that choose to not do, and that's okay. Everybody has their own life path, right? So I don't force anybody. I I believe everybody can because the hardest thing has never been getting out of my accident, out of the hospital, or building a business. The hardest thing I've ever done is being a mom. So I meet so many women that are moms and said, that's the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, if you can be a mom and raise this beautiful little soul to become an incredible human being, starting a business is way easier. It's easier because it's not
Mm-hmm.
your own. It's not your little own piece of your heart that's walking around. It becomes your little baby because you create a company, but it's tangible. If it fails, you just flush it and start something new. With a child, you have it. You cannot give it back, right? So
No.
you just have to make the best of it. Now, I have an incredible son. I'm really proud of him. And it's a joy to be around, but it's freaking hard to be a mom. Like, dang. Like,
Yeah.
so I tell people when I speak on stage or even in my book, I write it like you can do hard things, but you have to choose to do them. Um, and you have to be willing to, and you have to find what really excites you, what you want to wake up for every single day. And that is the main thing. If you just have a job for a paycheck, you're gonna be miserable the rest of your life. Because I'll tell you, paycheck that gives you excitement for maybe 30 seconds a month. When you see the numbers show up in your bank account, you're all excited and think about how can I spend it. And 30 seconds later, something happens around you and you're out of it. And that's not a life.
No, it's not. And I love the fact that you're saying it and saying it so matter of factly. When you work with people that believe they can't, and you're right, raising kids, I have 10 kids. And so raising kids is harder than anything else. That's the truth. But what are the biggest things that you hear over and over again that are not true, but why people believe or give themselves excuses about why they can't create the life they want, like you just described? What do people say all the time? What's in the way?
That it's not for them, that they don't believe they can. And also, I didn't come to this planet with great cards. Yeah, and I shuffle your card deck and put another card on top. My card deck was not great. Like the things I went through is like also not glorious. You know, I had in some ways a pretty good childhood, but in other ways it was very abusive. And you know, your childhood is not like your story. You have to change your story. Your identity is can change, right? So I think it's a choice. Like read books, hire a coach, go on a retreat, find a mentor, do some programs that can help you to get in the right mindset and heart set and soul set and take care of who you want to become. You're not a product of your parents. I tell them your parents only have influence until you're 18. So if you still talk about your first 18 years, then you're stuck in the past and you still have your parents in power over your life. You have to take power over your own life. Like even if you did education and you're I don't know in debt and you still are paying off for your education, but you hate it, like keep paying it off, but do something else. Like, you know, you don't have to keep doing what you're doing. You just have to be courageous to make a decision. When you make a decision, everything will align and fall in place. But if you keep going, being miserable is a choice.
So there's a bunch of things there I want to unpack. And it's fun for me because you say that so matter of fact, well, just change your mind, just go do something else. And so many people, they stay stuck. It's not for me. And you said it earlier, people have the right to choose and choose whatever they want. What I laugh about is you've chosen this, so quit bitching. Like you're choosing this, so okay, live there. You can choose something else. What do you, when you say to people, okay, you didn't have a great card deck to start with, let me put a different card on top. How do you help someone do that who's been living this sort of belief cycle for a long time, and so they doubt their ability to change the cards, to shuffle the deck? What do you tell them?
I ask them what impactful event happened in their childhood that keeps them stuck where they're at, because it's always happened mostly between birth and 7 is where the most impact happens. And then it will extend until like 15, 16. So something happened, either abusive childhood or no dad in the home or poverty or, being abandoned or betrayed, or there's big themes there. And I said, you have to go back to that moment in time. And I walked them through back on their timeline until they feel like this was the moment. And then I help them do the healing on that part and like look in the mirror, like who do you see and who do you want to become and who are you destined to be? Like go back to that little child, like you knew exactly why you were here. You were probably a happy child or really excited about something, and then it got like smashed. And that's the moment you have to go back to. You have to heal that before you can move forward in life and do the things you really want to do. And I give them a lot of writing exercises. If you have $5 million in your bank account, and money is not an issue, what would you be doing? What makes you happy every day? Is it like photography, taking pictures of nature or headshots of people and find their true presence? Is it being in real estate and sell people incredible homes and be part of their journey of moving? Like, what is it? It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something you're really happy about, waking up every day and not knowing that your bills are paid. But what would you be doing? And so that's the main question. And it's a writing exercise, and it's so powerful because they realized that, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I said, why are you waiting to get a heart attack or a divorce or get sick before you start realizing life is short and I should be doing it right now? While you're healthy right now, why don't you do it right now? And then that's it.
No. I was just going to say, so I love that writing exercise. And, if time, money, and all that stuff weren't a problem, so you can quit blaming that, what would you do? And so let's say they find that, because this is a key piece of development that I love that you're talking about. So let's say they find it through the writing exercise, and you ask them that important question, which is, why aren't you doing it right now? Like, what are you waiting for? And then they list the things. Well, I have obligations. I have no time. I can't. I'm stuck. I'm trapped. I should have made that decision 10 years ago, and now I have whatever, bills and life. How do you help them build a ramp? Yeah, I mean, there's two ways. You can jump off a cliff and build your parachute on the way down, and once in a while that might be the right answer. Usually it's not. But how do you help them build a process to get to that?
There's two types of people work. Some people, I tell them, if you keep your foot on first base, you can never steal second, right? If you watch baseball, you have to move.
Yeah.
This stuff. So either you just, cut the cords, sink the ship, and just jump. But that's not for everyone. And then there's the people that need a plan. I said, then we have to put a date on the calendar when you launch your business or when you go start that new job, and we work backwards. What do you need to get there? But the date is firm and we commit to it, and there's accountability and there's no going back. So we have to get ready. I know we all have a life, we have kids, we have bills to pay. Like, that's for everybody. We have obligations. But the obligations feels like a heavy, rock on your foot. That's not a good place to be in. So I plan with them. Let's say they wanted to do it in 90 days or in a year from now. I work backwards the whole plan. What do we have to do? And we have to get started today. We start today. We put intention and put it out there. When you put it out in the universe, it's gonna start flowing.
Stuff does
So,
start happening. I love that word. I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you
no,
saying?
you're great. So that it's important for them to see um, that it will happen. I said you have to understand when you make a decision and you choose and you own it and you embody it, then things will come to you. You meet the right people suddenly, or opportunities come, or you go to an event and suddenly there's something like, oh my gosh, I want to work with you, or things will happen. You have to declare it.
They do. And I love, there's two things I want to take right here. You said something about obligations and how they feel like a rock, a weight on your foot. And one of the things I talk about to people is I say, empty your calendar. I have no obligations. I have commitments, but I don't have any obligations. And the reason is that obligations, they always carry the tone or the feeling of resentment, meaning if I have to do this, I'm obligated, but I'd really rather be doing that. If you
Right.
do anything with that energy, then, obligations become that rock on your foot. And I love that you said that, because that's so important. And the second thing you said that's so good is the embodiment of, because it's easy to talk about a thing as long as it's that thing over there. But embodying a thing comes from in here. And that's the real energy that causes things around you to move and stuff to change. And so you mentioned both of those things.
Yeah.
And they're so true and so important.
It's very important, but you can only embody it when you truly love yourself. That's why I tell them you have to heal your heart, take your heart walls down, and truly love who you are without any judgment of the outside world. They have opinions about you no matter what. Be okay that people don't like you. There are 8 billion people on this planet. There are going to be enough people that are going to like you, and you're not for everyone. I know I'm not for everyone, and I'm okay with that. Like, you like me or you don't. And I will sleep the same. I live the same life. I'm going to be as happy as I am. It doesn't impact me. But I had to get there too, right? It's all part of the journey. Just be okay with that. Like, it was totally fine in the Netherlands. I moved to the US. I get all this first compliments on my looks, but then they have a lot of judgment about my accent or my English, or, And I said, if you start speaking better Dutch than I speak English, we can have a conversation.
I love that. I love your accent,
right?
because, I actually, learned Dutch and spoke fluent Dutch at one point. But anyway, so I love your accent, by the way. So it's okay. I saw Esther Wildenberg and I'm like, okay, this is Nederland. Anyway, so I love that. And, I'm sure in all your work, you know who Byron Katie is. And one of the things that
Yes, she was actually first books I read. And when she came to the Netherlands, I met her in person. I went to a workshop. She helped me a lot in my early stages.
one of her phrases that I love is, what other people think of me is none of my business.
Right.
And I love that phrase because I can't control it. Number one, I don't even know what they're thinking. 90% of the time, it's all an invention in my head anyway. And even if they tell me, I don't care. It's none of my business. They're wearing a set of lenses through their life experience that caused them to do that. What the heck does that have to do with me?
Or nothing. I just trigger something inside of you that you wish you had, or you don't like, or whatever it is, or remind you of somebody in your life that either you admired or you hated, but whatever it is, figure it out. Just don't put it on me.
100%. So I want to open the field now. I want to say, okay, Esther, I'd like you to talk about your current work, anything that we didn't talk about, like if you have some things on your heart you want to make sure we know or that you want to teach. So tell us what you'd like us to know now, and then tell us about your current work.
What I see a lot is that people come to me that they want to make more money. I know, or they want to find the love of their life. Now, I can help with both. But I said, that's not your main challenge. Your number one challenge is that you're not aligned between your soul, your heart, and your mind. And when you're not aligned, your relationships won't flow and your business won't flow. So, yeah, the money will come when you get here aligned and get really clear on who you are, what you want to do. And if you already own a business, why it's not flowing, either you lost your passion or you're stuck in a vision that doesn't apply in the world we're living in right now. You have to adjust your vision. And maybe you have people on the team that became furniture. You have to get rid of them. Like they're not productive, they're not efficient, they're not passionate anymore. They're just there for the paycheck. There's so many things. And the relationship side, I said, it's an energy field. If it doesn't align with who you are, where you want to go, then you have to look at that. So I talk about alignment. I talk on stage about it. I just spoke at a business conference. Every talked about Kevin, the right legal team, attorneys, and also about marketing. It's the right marketing and sales and about ops and SOPs and all the speakers. And I'm the last speaker. And I said, now, I said, all amazing speakers. And if this all is fine and you have this all in place, and guess what? Your business is still not flowing. Do you know why? And it got so freaking silent in the audience. I said, you're not aligned. And I talked about alignment for an hour and get them all exercising and doing things. And they're all like, dang. And they're like, yeah, you can have everything in place. And it looks perfect on paper and on the outside. But then nothing happens because you're blocking your own energy. So I'm really passionate about. I do it in my retreats. I do it in my consulting. And so when I come in to turn around their company, I said, I'm not here. The money will come. Don't worry about that part. You're going to turn around here, the energy and the people work, and then the rest will flow. And it happens every single time. So that's I'm really passionate about. And I believe that you really have to listen to your soul, heal your heart, and get your mind straight on making decisions that empower your life, not the life of others or what other people expect from you to do. That's the same conversation I had with my wife. Like I worked with her in the company for 10 years, building our technology and training company. And we speak around the world and we're doing really well. But I said, my passion is my retreats and my consulting, so I can do my work while I'm here on this planet. And I want to do more of that. But she says, I want you full-time in the business. I said, I love that you want that, but I want this. So I'm in both companies now and I'm happy and she's happy. But you have to sometimes restructure the situation and then make sure everybody's happy along the way.
So I want you to give me an idea, give the listeners an idea today of that alignment, because you said your soul, your heart, and your head, they have to be alignment. And you heard a whole conference full of great people saying cool stuff, and you said none of it's going to work unless you're aligned. So give me an example of what you would do as a first exercise or something to give people a sense of what that would mean. Can you do that?
I can do that.
Cool, let's do that.
The first exercise is I really let them write down why they started the company in silence. Not talk to anybody. Go sit down there and just start writing, why did you start this company? Because I work mostly with founders, right? Mm-hmm. Or single entrepreneurs or small business owners, and also with bigger companies. But I always ask the C-suite or the founders, like, why did you start this company? And then I ask them what was their biggest high, right? And why was it a high? And their deepest low? And why did it happen? And then I ask, what's your number one challenge right now? And most of them, they say revenue. It's either revenue or people and tech. Right. It's always the same thing. And then I ask them, what's your number one opportunity right now? Where do you want to take this? And I let them write because they don't take time to write. So my first exercise is writing. I just ask the questions I just said, and I let them write. And then they have to read it out loud so they hear themselves say it. And they also don't do that but when I'm there, they have to, right? It's like unnegotiable. And then it opens up it opens up the body, the mind, and the spirit, and I can get in. Otherwise, I cannot get in because they're just so focused on, we need to make more money. That's all fine. That will happen. Don't worry about it. We have to find to the core. You have to go to the core of the challenge. Why is it not growing and flowing? So I just ask deep questions and write, and then speak it out loud. That's a very key component.
I love that. And you talked about a writing exercise earlier about, what you really would do if you had no constraints, meaning money was not a problem. And you are so right. Writing, I was in a mastermind once. The guy said, writing is the doing part of thinking. And I don't know if he created that phrase or repeated it from somewhere. It doesn't matter. I really liked it. It's the doing part of thinking. And when you said read it out loud, because when you hear yourself say those things, is so different. And I would just urge those of you listening to do that. Like, what is the vision of your life? If you've started a company, why? And your biggest high, like, did it come in line with that? That's really good. So where do people find out more? If they want to have another dose of Esther after this one, where do they go to get that?
They can go to my website, estherwildenberg.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the well-known routes to connect with me.
EstherWildenberg.com. I would really recommend you do that. It's fun when you have your own name. Like, I got it, KellenFlukiger.com. When I went to get that, like, I got it for $2, right? Who else would want
I got my website
KellenFlukiger.com
for $5 or something. I got it right away, and I think I got it probably in 2000 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is so good. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you want us to take away today from having the pleasure of hearing about your story, your passion, how you add good to the world, and who you are?
I think the best way to know more about me and my journey is reading my book, The Undermined Soul, that I wrote in 2024. And actually, I was never planning on writing a book because people told me you're not a good writer. So I was like, okay, I guess.
So of course you wrote a book.
Of course I wrote a book.
Yeah,
no,
right.
it was because my son, he was 4 at the time. He said, I want to read your book because my wife wrote 2 books, right? So he knows she wrote 2 books. He says, I want to see your book. I want to read your book. I want to listen to it. And he's 4. He was 4 and he's now 6. And I'm like, I don't have a book. And he says, why? And I'm like, okay, I guess I have to write a book. And at that moment, I decided to write a book. And then I meditated the next morning and the title came right away. And like, okay, I guess everything is aligned. Yes.
You mean this one, The Undermined Soul. There it is. Yeah. So I have one. Well, how fun.
It is fun. And it's my life story. And it's a lot of very lessons learned and practical advice for every business owner, entrepreneur, or people that are stuck in life and want to take their life to a whole different level or on a new path. It was a passion project. And I really dedicated the book to my son, and I gave my first copy to him and signed it. And he has all books. Every single time I speak on stage, I ask the speakers to sign the copy of their book. So he has signed copies. I'm collecting signed copies of books for my son when he's old enough that he has this special collection. What's going to be very valuable. I don't know if he's going to read them all, but I'm going to tell him that he has to read a lot of books to become incredible in this world. So
that's fabulous. Well, I love it. And I'm grateful. Esther, I want to thank you for sharing your heart, your story, your enthusiasm, your energy, and your wisdom with us today. Thanks for being here.
So grateful to be here.
Listeners, I want to take this opportunity. I want you to think about this. Because Esther has talked about this, of course, just do this. And people talk about that opportunity we have to change in different ways. But she's 100% right. It requires choice. It requires taking responsibility, setting a clear destination, and then the individual choices all the time along the way. And if you need to get a coach or some accountability processes or whatever, do it. Because otherwise, all we live on is excuses and promises. And if you do what she's described for you today, including what's written in that beautiful book, you will be able to do what you want to do and create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellenFlukigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe. Share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.